welcome back.
Hi, welcome back. Whoa. Delay.
Oh, he's on Boost Mobile.
Boost? What? An obscure phone network.
Not that as
T-Mobile.
Net 10.
T-Mobile.
Cricket.
T-Mobile again. Did you hear T-Mobile fucked up and most of their user information got leaked this last week?
Wait, last week?
Yeah,
This
last
happened?
week or this week? Yeah.
Holy shit! No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
T-Mobile fucked right up.
Wow.
It's most financial information that was stored in that. Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm sure
Sounds
I'll
like
be
a mess.
hearing about it at work.
Yeah, Casey's a phone guy. I don't know if that's ever been mentioned on the podcast. This guy fucks with phones.
I do. I fuck with some phones, y'all.
You guys ever see Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
That's Casey does that with phones.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have any broken phones that you want me to flip for a near fortune, well, let me know.
He sells Notes 3s for millions.
Yeah.
It's got
my customers, they pay top dollar. You know what I'm saying? But well, that's interesting that their information leaked. Kind of unfortunate for anybody using. Actually, T-Mobile just recently had a merger of Sprint.
Really?
Yeah, so that means that all Sprint's customers as well. So if you're on Sprint or T-Mobile, you might want to check that shit out.
Oh my gosh, look what they have to do to have a fraction of our power here at Verizon.
It's Verizon. Yeah.
What do you use?
I use AT&T.
Okay, you fucking coward.
Well, I mean, AT&T gets service everywhere Verizon doesn't. Verizon gets service everywhere AT&T doesn't. I mean,
do you want good service or bad service?
I want good service. So
yeah, I know. That's why I have Verizon. Fucking hell.
God.
We're playing right into their corporate hands. They want this discourse.
They do. It's the classic red versus blue.
Red versus blue?
Yeah, it's it's like, well, I don't know,
what is this, machinima?
Yes, there's red versus blue there. There's also Democrats and Republicans.
Oh my gosh!
And now we have Verizon and Sprint. It's always a red v blue thing, man.
I think the only time that hasn't worked out for a company is left Twix and right Twix. Did anyone care before?
Yeah, no, but they didn't. They never said that right Twix and left Twix were actually different.
They're not.
They are.
What?
Okay, so I was told recently that it's not just a marketing thing. There is actually in the right Twix there's more cookie, and in the left Twix there's more caramel. What? And so that's why they sell the right Twix and the left Twix separately, so people actually pick. Twix never fucking explained that, so people didn't buy into it as much. They just thought it was stupid. It was the same thing, but no, they're slightly different. One has slightly more cookie, one has slightly more caramel.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't know this either.
I thought the whole joke was that they're the same.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought too. But I've been told differently. I mean, fact check. Well, I had to fact check myself, but I was told this not too long ago.
That's too fucking crazy. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of this discussion field. I mean, look it up still, but I would be curious to hear your film opinions rather than this corporate nonsense.
Yes, I'm sure our audience would as well.
Is there a difference in left and right Twix? Question. Oh no, internet.
Oh, I just have to connect it real quick.
Oh no, this boy. How are we recording this internet podcast without any internet?
Yeah, it's live. Everybody, you might not know this, but this podcast recorded live.
We just never have any live viewers.
Oh no. To conclude this study, I regret to inform you that there is no difference between the left Twix bar. Yeah.
So I'm kind of mad at you because you made it sound like slightly more interesting.
Yeah.
And then you took that away.
I was lied to.
Who even told you that shit?
I can't remember.
You gotta stop meeting with these Twix like CEOs and listening to their shit. They just don't care about us, you know? And you gotta stop pretending like any corporation cares about you. Anyway,
that's true.
What corporate product in the form of movies did you consume this week?
I consumed only one movie.
One feature film presentation?
I consumed one feature film since we last spoke.
One cinema?
Yeah, one cinema. I watched Reminiscence, the new Hugh Jackman movie, written and directed by Lisa Joy. We were talking a little...
Westworld.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit about it before the podcast started, but, there's not a whole lot to say about it except for the fact that it is, I stand firmly by my analysis of it in that it is, if Chinatown was directed by Christopher Nolan and written by somebody way worse than Christopher Nolan. So yeah, that's basically it's like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, I know at least like I can count on my hands and toes noir films done way better than this. Because nothing about the film is really even wholly original, you know? Like, the sinking city is just... Will you shut up? The sinking city is just, Blade Runner has done that with the water ride. Well, a bunch of films have done that, but mainly Blade Runner is... and then the memory about how people don't want to look forward to the future, so they look past and they live in an alternate... That's just Ready Player One garbo. And just like this whole like mystery takes a lot of beats from Chinatown, and it's just ridiculous. Nothing's interesting about it, except for the fact that Hugh Jackman and I forgot her
Rebecca
Ferguson. Yeah, they were good in this movie. And the mystery would have been a lot more interesting if it wasn't for the fact that they used this memory tank thing as a crutch for exposition, for like tons and tons of exposition, and on top of that we have Hugh Jackman narrating the damn thing, and it's just I feel like these people think I am really fucking stupid right now because
it sounds like Blade Runner, the theatrical cut, like the original one with Harrison Ford, just like explaining everything to the audience. That's disappointing.
Yeah.
And maybe that's Lisa Joy taking notes, because like I think she's very frustrating. Her and Jonathan Nolan are a very frustrating team because like they've got a lot of interesting ideas going on in Westworld, and I think they tend to blow it with a bunch of pretentious like up their own ass like bullshit and like telling stories in like very convoluted ways. So it's like supposed to pay off later if you do your homework and analyze like everything that happens. But like maybe it got to her like that people didn't really like seasons 2 and 3 of Westworld, and maybe she needed to like compensate for that. Yeah. But it just doesn't sound like that's the way to go. I haven't seen Reminiscence, but I was hoping it would be good, and I'm kind of bummed to hear it's not.
Yeah, because the trailer was edited really well. It really made me want to watch it. I thought, this looks like a movie that could be in my top 10 at the end of the year, possibly. Because everything was there for me, but... even Raymond Djawadi did the soundtrack.
Oh, man.
And granted, the score was really interesting. Especially I'm thinking of this specific scene that's set in this clock shop, and he incorporates like clocks in the music really well. So he's just an awesome composer, no matter what he's given, I think.
Yeah.
But, the rest of the movie just didn't live up to, all the talent going on here. Her directorial debut, hopefully... later on, she'll get the hang of it. Maybe it's just a very like Westworld team project. A lot of people from that here, and I just wasn't super impressed. But that's all I've watched. I will probably get into the Richard and Mortimer episode here in a minute. But other than that, I've been doing other stuff. But what about you? What have you watched?
Gotcha. Well, I haven't watched too much in terms of movies. I rewatched There Will Be Blood.
Oh hell yeah.
Which is, I think, I can comfortably say PTA's like best movie. Like,
yes,
it's just flawless. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's been talked about to death, like how good Daniel Day-Lewis is in the movie, and like every performance is so authentic. The production is incredible. The naturalistic look of the movie is like bonkers. Like I cannot believe how they made this movie look so fucking pretty and look so much like that time period. I think what I want to especially brag on this watch through right now is the score by Johnny Greenwood. He's the guitarist for Radiohead, and he fucking kills it for this movie. Like the instant it starts, it's got that like droning, like it felt very 2001 in that way. But he does so much. Like not only does he like emulate kind of like a more classical movie score in a lot of parts, but when there's like intense action going on, especially with the oil rigs, the score becomes a machine itself. It's like it's just mechanical in the way that it like plays certain like notes and noises at these times, and it's an incredible piece of work.
And it's still light on the ears. Like it's easy to listen to. It's not like too industrial where it's like annoying. You know, some scores are like, oh, this is better if you see it in the movie, but I think the whole There Will Be Blood score is still listenable apart from the movie.
I know that you rag on the Safdie brothers and their scores, but I feel like this is like the peak of what a score like Uncut Gems is like going for, where like everything sounds a bit chaotic, but it's definitely all intentional. And I fucking love it. And I think what I really respect about There Will Be Blood, especially coming off of Boogie Nights, is that restraint I was talking about that I like in PTA's back half. It's nice to see the man, you know, just like take a moment to linger on like shots and you know, not just do like a one take like every other scene just because he can. I mean, he does plenty of visually impressive stuff in this movie, but he knows when to pull it out and when not to. And I'm not saying that Boogie Nights is like super excessive. It just definitely, knowing what we know about his career now and, you know, the man he was back then, it seems like a 26-year-old on coke, like going like, let's make cinema. So There Will Be Blood's incredible though. I don't think I can say anything else that hasn't been said about it.
I really want to rewatch it like very soon, so I'll probably do that
on Netflix. You have a great TV to rewatch that movie. That's going to be a fantastic experience for you.
Yes, I have a huge ass TV that I paid good money for that shit. I said that was my big purchase for my birthday. I was like, I'm gonna buy a big ass TV to watch movies on. So.
Goddamn, treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
I started a movie with Ken. We haven't finished it yet. It's called House, and it's a 1970s Japanese horror movie. And
I've been wanting to watch that.
We started it, and I will say this: it is it's so trippy and weird and crazy. It was like almost too crazy. We didn't even get too much into any of the horror elements yet, and it was like already using so much like I don't know, like brain power, because it's like all of the shots are so interesting, the way they're framed, and all of the music choices are a little bit odd, and the tone, it like bounces back between this like really cutesy like anime Japanese feeling and just like a more somber, serious like movie, and it's all very surreal. Like I think this is up there with like Eraserhead in terms of like surrealness, except it might be even more trippier. But yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but I gotta say I'm impressed with the start of House. And then I've got something that isn't quite a movie, but I want to sell you on it.
Okay.
So there's a game that just came out called 12 Minutes.
Okay.
It stars James McAvoy,
I've heard.
Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe. And I played it over the weekend. It took me about 3 hours to be. It ranges depending on like your I guess. I don't know what your willingness to try out lots of crazy shit.
Yeah.
I loved it though. Like it was so well done. It's a game where you play a man stuck in a time loop, and basically you play the same like 10 minutes over and over again, where your wife has some pretty life-changing news for you. You celebrate, and then a man shows up and kills you both. And the loop repeats. And so as you're doing it, you're finding out more and more about who this man is. Why is he coming here to kill you, to come after your valuables and everything? And the mystery at play, like I thought I saw where it was going, and then in the last like 30 minutes, my mind got blown, and I was so freaked out by like what's at the center of it all. It's so good. It really is like playing a movie, and it's also just a lot of fun as a game. Like, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but like in my experience, I kind of fucked up and I focused on the wrong thing. Like I was trying to figure out how to beat something, and then the loop kept happening, and I wasn't like grasping like what I was doing wrong, and then I realized, oh my gosh, it's because I'm completely circumventing the events that they want me to do this in. Like they want you to do things in a particular order so you can unveil the story in a gradual way. But that's the thing, is to each player their own little adventure and solutions, and it's so much fun. And also Willem Dafoe, James McAvoy, and Daisy Ridley are incredible, and they don't phone it in for this, which I really appreciated. So
nice.
Check it out.
I'm excited. I had heard mixed things though. I guess some I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of gamer you are, but somebody had said it was the most boring thing that ever played.
Really?
Yeah, but then I heard other people saying that it was definitely worth the dive, and I thought, this might be one of those, depends on what kind of gamer you are, I guess, where, you know, but I don't know. I saw the trailer for it, and I was very excited for it. I think I saw it on E3 this year. So yeah, I definitely want to try it. How much is it?
It's $25 now. 25? I bought it when it was like 10% off, and I got it for like $22. But it's worth it. And I think that if you're not enjoying the gamier aspects of it, which is point and click adventure, kind of figure out stuff, you can always just use a guide and watch a pretty good time loop movie, honestly. Yeah. Like, I enjoyed the story at hand enough. I do think it's enhanced, though, when you're making those revelations yourself and when you're figuring out just how everything clicks. And,
hey, guys. Casey here, post-recording session. During this recording, we had a lot of problems with Audacity buffering and cutting out some parts of the audio. So for this next, 3 to 4 minute portion where we were talking about games, there was a bunch of pieces cut out, so it wasn't worth it to try and cut around it. Our conversation started making no sense, so I thought I'd just jump in here and so obviously first say sorry for the audio cutting out. I'm going to try and find a solution to that, but second of all, what we were basically talking about, what Isaac was explaining with moon logic about 12 minutes, was that moon logic is a term they use to describe games where you have to think of the most psycho nuts shit to try and figure out and progress through the game, and then he proceeds to ask me what some good story driven games are. I included Firewatch and Superhot in mine, and he included the Telltale games, and then we went into a discussion about how Telltale went out of business because they kept producing games, too many games every year, to where they had, it was quantity over quality, and yeah, we were kind of sad about that because a couple of the Telltale games were really exciting and really fun to play. But now we're getting into Richard and Mortimer, Rick and Morty spoilers for the last 3 episodes, because we haven't talked about it in a while. So if you don't want spoilers for Rick and Morty, skip to this timestamp, 26 minutes and 10 seconds. And we will get into our main topic for the day, which will be war movies, Vietnam versus Iraq/Afghanistan war movies. And yeah, sorry about this delay, guys, but enjoy the rest of the episode.
Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty? Rick and Morty? Copyright.
Latest episode. Actually, I want to hear your thoughts first on the Thanksploitation episode, the Thanksgiving with the turkeys and shit.
Oh, that was funny. I liked the idea, like right off the bat, that this has happened enough times that they have to have like a convoluted plan to make it work. I enjoyed it. I do think that it was one of these episodes where like they really ran the concept into the ground by the end. But something I always like about some of these obscure Rick and Morty episodes is they've always got like kind of a fun message at the center of it. And I guess this one was like American exceptionalism, like what makes us like think we're so special. I don't know, like I think it did touch on that, like and Manifest Destiny, and then there was also the fun like alien subplot, and they're absolutely right. Like it doesn't get old that they're buds. Like, oh, that's never gonna get old. They don't hate each other.
Seeing Rick and Morty as fucking turkeys, just I was laughing so fucking hard. I thought it was a great episode. It was one of my favorites of the entire season so far. So yeah, I really like that one.
I like when the president is on the show. Like I like Keith David being able to be on there. Like,
only president episode I haven't liked is the sperm episode. Obviously,
oh god,
that one was dumb as shit. But this one was way fucking better. I think I really enjoyed it. And then the next one, the Gotron, the Gotron thing. I mean, yeah, like I'm not, I don't know a whole lot about anime, but I know enough to understand the premise and everything, and the whole animation switch up in that one scene where they're animating their in like the anime style and whatever. That was funny, and it was interesting to see Rick and Summer kind of plot line there. So I
do enjoy the Rick and Summer plot lines, and I liked that. Even though it had an anime backdrop, it kind of surprised us with the like Goodfellas style like mobster movie.
I love that. Yeah.
Plot line, and then that reveal that like it was little aliens in their heads causing voiceovers. Like, I love that Rick and Morty doesn't waste like any concept. Like if they're gonna indulge in a cliche, they're gonna do something fun with it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, this newest episode, the Battle of Blood Ridge, that was interesting.
I think that this is one of those, like, I'm surprised that they're interested in making, like, they seem to hate serialized storylines like that, but like,
they keep coming back to Bird Person.
Mm-hmm. They keep coming back to Bird Person. This is another time that they've referenced Rick's, like, wife. Like, I feel like they might have like a reveal about that soon, which is interesting. Like, for a season that seems to have been like mostly like episodic and disconnected, like it feels like they've touched a lot on like fan questions and like storylines that people are really interested to see, and I'm all for that, and I think that this was a wonderful bit of like fan service and still also telling jokes. I really liked this episode a lot.
I did too. I think the reason why they keep coming back to Bird Person is that Bird Person is or Phoenix Person now, I guess. He's back to Bird Person. He's back to Bird Person, right. He's like an integral part of Rick's backstory and about why Rick is the way he is, and I think Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon and the writers, they're interested in expanding upon that, and I am too. And like you, I hope we get a reveal of some sort about Rick's wife, because I feel like that's something that I would have figured they would have done in like seasons like 2 or 3 or something. It just kind of feels overdue we don't know anything about it, and I feel like we should. Maybe that's maybe my brain thinking, like, I feel like this would bring us some sort of revelation about some characters here if we knew who she was and stuff. So
okay, so I'm gonna compare it to a series that I really like. I like that Rick and Morty is for the most part episodic, and I like that when they do whip out the serialized storylines, like it's always pretty good. And I think that's with intention, that most of the show isn't like that. It reminds me of Cowboy Bebop, which is like maybe my favorite anime series of all time. It's tied with like Neon Genesis, but that show is like 26 episodes long. 5 of them have to do with like a main plot. The other 21 are just like bullshit, but they can sometimes hint at details like that. And so, I mean, if we've only had like 5 like plot episodes of Rick and Morty so far, they've all been like very fun. And the remainder episodes we have are some of the funniest and most interesting like sci-fi concept episodes out there, especially the sperm one, which is, I think, the best episode ever made of television. Okay. Like better than the Ozymandias episode of Breaking Bad, better than Hard Home, better than all of that.
Hard Home is
Wait, you don't like Hard Home?
No, I do like Hard Home.
Okay.
I was just thinking, I just thought of Game of Thrones, and I just
you gotta roll your eyes at it, yeah.
Roll my eyes a little bit.
I totally understand that.
But Yeah, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
We're gonna have. We should obviously mention this is the first time it's ever happening in this show. We're gonna have an hour-long season finale in a couple weeks. I'm excited.
Really neat.
I'm very excited for that. So far I was looking. The longest episode of Rick and Morty there is out there right now is 23 minutes and like 27 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's the longest episode we have. So
well, they always know how to carry a good pace throughout their episodes, and it always flies by. So I wonder what that longer length will look like in practice. They've never done a 2-parter or anything before.
Yeah.
Either. Well, kind of. The season 2 finale and season 3 opening, I guess, are kind of a 2-parter, but they feel disconnected enough.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's weird because we're going to end the season on technically just 9 episodes.
Yeah.
Which, Adult Swim's ordered 70, so there must be a good reason they wanted to do, just hour long.
They'll probably count it as 2 still.
They probably counted it as 2, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for it, and let's talk about war films now.
Yeah, so specifically, this last week.
Yeah, there's been some developments.
Yeah, in Afghanistan, everything has gone to shit. Like, I don't know. There was a really striking image to me this week where at the airport in Afghanistan, the refugees are fleeing and that military plane is like taking off and people are literally like clinging to it, like getting on the wings of the plane because they don't want to stay. They want out of the country so bad that they're not even thinking about the fact that they'll probably fall off the plane and die, which a couple of people did.
Yeah, I think there was 7 people died because they fell off the plane and stuff or got crushed, and it was very sad. Yeah,
and like this is all felt very reminiscent of like the fall of Saigon to me. Like the images we're seeing. The only thing is like this war has been completely different than Vietnam in terms of its media portrayal. Like Vietnam, I think we were fully aware during the whole course of the thing that it was a bunch of bullshit. People at home were protesting all of the time. Lots of anti-Vietnam movies came out during Vietnam.
The Vietnam War, yeah.
And meanwhile, with Iraq and Afghanistan, like there's been a strong like support the troops sentiment and a like kind of a distance between our homeland and this war. Like, I don't think that the American people have really felt for the Iraqis or the Afghanis like at all during this like past 20 years, and it kind of feels numb to even talk about. Like the fact that we've been there longer than we've been in any other country, I think it's lost on people. Like I don't think that means anything anymore. That's how like desensitized to this war we've become, and I kind of wanted to examine today why that might be. Why, in the past, war movies have been a certain way, like Vietnam especially has been critical. World War II has maybe been a bit more positive. Where is the Iraq / Afghanistan conflict like movies? And you and I actually started in a good place. You recommended that I watch this video. Is there an Iraq war genre by the YouTube channel Now You See It? And I think that they got into a lot of great points that maybe we can start jumping off of.
For sure.
So I broke it down a little bit. They explain in the video that there's kind of like 3 eras to examine. There's World War II films, which are, for the most part, show the American troops favorably. Like in that time period, there was a general sense of duty. It was a justified war. And I mean, most people agree looking back, the Nazis were pretty bad. So that's why, we get movies like Saving Private Ryan and, Band of Brothers that focus on like American, like brotherhood and like beating out those bastards overseas and generally having a good cause. Despite however many war crimes might have happened during World War II, we don't typically hear about them because on our side, it felt pretty correct. Like the major one is dropping the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But, even that doesn't get too much movie coverage. Like it's always kind of a footnote. So
yeah.
I think that reflects the American sentiment that
I feel
it's a
like
good war.
The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki is more explored through satire than anything.
Yeah.
If you think about
Doctor Strangelove.
Doctor Strangelove, exactly. That's a wildly hilarious fucking movie, by the way. But the ending there is, the movie's very, very critical of maybe not World War II so much, but very critical of the bombings, and that's really the only movie that I can think that I've seen that has been that, and it was a comedy. It's satire. I can't think of any movies that very seriously depict the bombings. Like
I think that you have to go overseas to depict bombings like that. Obviously, the Japanese have made a lot of movies about the horrors of World War II.
Definitely.
Like I think one of the most harrowing war movies I've ever seen is Grave of the Fireflies, which is, I don't think it's much of a spoiler alert because it's revealed in the opening scene, but it's a movie about two Japanese children starving to death.
Yeah.
In a country that becomes completely inhospitable and foreign to them. And then also, if you look overseas, you see that the rest of Europe was definitely not so flowery about World War II. Like the British often make movies about the relentless bombing that they endured from the Germans during that time period. The Russians especially were hit hard. I think Come and See is the best example of that, because that movie is about just how terrible it was to be invaded by another country, and the burnings of villages and the slaughtering of innocents. That's just something we don't touch on when it comes to World War II with our country. We get into the Holocaust sometimes. Our Jewish filmmakers like to explore that, and occasionally a non-Jewish filmmaker will come and make a movie about it. But I think the best films are definitely come from the source, people who experience that trauma. I hate to give the man credit, but Roman Polanski with The Pianist, that's one of the best looks at what it was like to actually be a Jewish man during World War II.
There's also the 9-hour documentary Shoah, directed by I think he's a Polish director, and he went and visited the death camps, mainly Auschwitz, and I don't think he visited all of them, but it's a 9-hour documentary of just basically him walking through the death camps, and there's information being told to you and stuff like that. I need to watch it because apparently if you want to be a filmmaker, you really need to watch this movie.
Okay.
That's I don't want to gatekeep
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, man.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's said that movie is one of the best. I guess they fit it into the war genre as well, just about the Holocaust. But yeah, not really critical of anything we did. More of just look how awful Hitler was,
I think, especially I don't think I've seen a single American movie that shows a troop doing anything morally reprehensible or anything yikes. I mean, not yikes, just I don't think there are any yikes moments in movies about World War II. Truly, it's those were the golden days. That was the good generation.
Yeah. It was the good war or whatever.
Which is why when we get into Nam, which
good old Nam,
it's a bit surprising to see the tone shifts a lot. I don't know that I can think of a movie about the Vietnam War that says that's a good thing. That's oh my gosh, I love Vietnam. What a good war.
Wow, what a totally justifiable and good cause.
The most famous war movies about Nam are all very critical. I would say, Born on the 4th of July, Apocalypse Now, Platoon. They're all movies where the American soldiers are the antagonists, really, in the horrors that they inflict on the rest of the world, and especially the Vietnamese it's just savagery, and I think the Now You See It video makes a good point that was the sentiment back home was this is a senseless war, we have no right to be there. And this was also the first war where the cameras kind of came with the soldiers. You know, we back home are seeing what war really looks like. In World War II, I mean, we're being shown very fancy, like,
propaganda,
you know,
basically.
Reels. Like, the American military can do no wrong. Look at this reel in the theater.
Yeah.
The troops are doing good, you know.
Yes.
And meanwhile, I mean, I actually did read an interesting book about World War II this year called The Bomber Mafia, and it's by Malcolm Gladwell, and it was talking about how American bombings were not going very well at all, like, because that World War II is the first war where planes, you know, you had to factor in their bombing because they're traveling like whoosh, and they're throwing like this big of a object, I mean, like a football out of a plane and trying to hit an exact target. It didn't go so well, but like propaganda would show like, wow, the bombings went so great today. And meanwhile, like, where it led to was actually relentless bombings of the Japanese that killed them. You know, lots of civilians. Like, World War II had a high civilian death rate that we don't talk about, and we are a big proponent of killing civilians. Yeah. But in Nam, that came to light. You know, that was something that people were aware of. Also, fratricide. In every war, the statistics of friendly fire have been kind of pushed down. And in Nam, I think it became apparent because of just how many friendly fire killings were happening. Over 57% of our deaths in Nam were inflicted by U.S. soldiers. Yeah. Jesus. Fratricide is a big problem in the U.S. military. So I mean, I think that's another thing. And I mean, that's something Platoon even touches on. Like, Willem Dafoe gets killed by, he gets screwed over by other American soldiers and left to die. But like, that's something that's interesting to see in those Nam movies, though, is like, the U.S. soldiers don't have a camaraderie. You know, the brotherhood of the World War II era films is gone. You know, and even if someone makes a movie about Nam today or makes a movie about World War II today, like, that will be a stark difference that you'll see between the two. Is like, the Nam people don't have any brotherhood, and, you know, there's conspiracy and a sense of hopelessness and pointlessness to it all. And in World War II, it'll always be justified. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you have a favorite, like, Nam depiction?
I think Platoon is really, honestly, really, really good. Probably one of my favorites. I used to watch a bunch of war movies when I was younger, and I can't possibly remember them all. I think, though...
Forrest Gump,
yeah. No, there was a movie called... I don't want to... This will be interesting. There's a movie called... Jesus... Rescue Dawn. Have you ever heard of this movie?
No, I've never heard of it.
Alright, my computer is... I'm so sorry, guys. Hold on. My computer's stupid. Oh, my God. I can't remember if Rescue Dawn was about the Vietnam War or it was about something else. I think it was...
It's in Laos.
Laos, okay. So it was... so it's during the Vietnam War. He's about this... He's a prisoner of war, basically. And his plane is shot down, and he's... It's got Christian Bale and Steve Zahn, and it's very... I remember... It's
directed by Werner Herzog. I just read. Wow.
Yeah, it's PG-13, but I still remember being pretty afflicted by it, watching it at probably 9 years old is when I watched. God. So, yeah, that stuck with me. It was Rescue Dawn, and pretty bad stuff. Just everything you see about Vietnam War is never good. Yeah. It's never... And I think Rescue Dawn had a very not happy ending. I think he died there, but... Either one. But Platoon probably being one of my favorites.
I haven't seen a lot of the greats. Like, I haven't seen Apocalypse Now. I haven't seen The Deer Hunter. I've
only seen bits and pieces of Apocalypse Now, never the full thing.
So, I would love to actually sit down and watch it. And also, this might be the most egregious. I haven't seen Full Metal Jacket.
Really?
I've seen... A long time ago, I saw all the way up to like the end of the boot camp portion of the movie, and then I hear that it's essentially a whole nother movie after that, like actually going to Nam. But like, I don't know, like I haven't seen a lot of those greats, and so I feel like most of my information has either come from like documentaries or my grandfather, who was like actually in Nam. But I mean, even his stories, he didn't really like to dwell on what happened in Nam. And I later watched this Ken Burns documentary about the whole thing, and specifically his job was outlined, and it was like they would sit in the dark and like listen for Viet Cong, and they're just sitting up all night. And if there were Viet Cong in the area, you know, they'd radio in, they'd be like, hey, there's Viet Cong in the area, they're there. But sometimes the Viet Cong would set up camp so close to them that, like, if they were to get a radio transmission and they needed to respond, I mean, this was the matter between life and death, because if they were heard, they would be, like, killed. So you would have to tap your radio button, like, once, and they'd be like, are there enemy soldiers near you? And then you'd have to tap it again. And meanwhile, you're risking your fucking life because the people are still talking to you on the radio. They're still potentially giving away your position. So the only thing you can do is either communicate or turn your fucking radio off and, like, shit your pants. Like, the guy in the documentary was like, I sleep with a nightlight every night after doing that. Jesus. So I'm like, I see why people don't fucking talk about Nam.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's very well documented that Vietnam was not a good war in the media, and it's kind of a concession everyone makes. But interestingly, when we get to the Iraq/Gulf War/Afghanistan conflict, it usually doesn't dive too much into the justification of the war, or even so much into, like, the military itself. Like, I think the video pointed out very well that most films about the Iraq War focus on specialists, like U.S. specialists. Like Zero Dark 30 is about the SEAL team that tracked down and killed Osama bin Laden. The Hurt Locker is about bomb technicians. Just a lot.
Even American Snipers, just about the sniper teams.
Yeah, like and specifically Chris Kyle, who's a bit of a, like, conservative, like, hero and talking point. And instead of trying to get into whether the war is justified, they often use tactics to, you know, make it more appealing for audiences at home. It's like, we don't want you to feel too uncomfortable about the fact that these characters are, like, killing people, you know. We want you to feel okay that they're stopping bad guys with violence. Like, especially American Sniper, it goes out of its way to have, like, a flashback sequence where Chris Kyle is being told by his dad, like, sometimes people gotta, you know, use their fists to do what's right. And it's like his little brother's getting beat up at school, and Chris Kyle, like, runs in there and he's like, oh, you fucking bastard, like, pow, 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 and beats the shit out of him. And the Now You See It video points out, like, so after his brother was out of harm, like, did he really need to keep pounding on that guy? Or, like, were there other options to diffuse that situation? And I think that applies to the whole war, is that these movies don't bother to question the war itself, or, like, whether it was just maybe it turned out an oil steal by Dick Cheney and George Bush. They just are more interested in telling a story about soldiers choosing to do something, because the other thing about the Iraq War is, like, no draft. That's World War II had a draft, Vietnam had a draft. No draft for Iraq. If you're there, you chose to go there.
It's patriotism. It's like the utmost respect for your country, and that's what's kind of crazy about it, because, you know, I can't believe that, you know, well, back in last year, you know, 2020, the Afghanistan papers came out. It was basically like, you know, the Vietnam, when the Vietnam, there was a very specific, like, thing that came out. I think the movie The Post is about it, about how the Vietnam was a farce, or was it Watergate?
No, I think that was The Post. That was The Post.
Okay, so so it was like, when that came out, everybody's like, holy shit, they just broke this story. The Afghanistan papers came out last year, and nobody fucking batted an eye. And I read the entire thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is literally Vietnam. Why are we not talking about this?
There's so much negligence that goes on in this war. Like, with Afghanistan specifically, we lost. Well, there was the largest cash transfer of all time by the Federal Reserve. It was $12 billion in U.S. like paper money, and we lost it. We literally lost $12 billion, and it didn't go to anything. Yeah, like like some of it got used for bribes, like some of it was taken by workers, but most of it we can't account for where the fuck that went. So it's probably in the hands of people we don't want to have it.
Yeah.
It's similarly, all of the Humvees and all of the shit that we gave to the Afghani military is now in the hands of the Taliban. Yeah. By the way, like as soon as they sweep through the city, it's their shit. It's their shit, yeah. So that's where our money went. It went towards that. There was a really good passage I read this week from a book called Jotun, I think, and it's like a photography journalism book about Afghanistan, and it summed up. And I also heard this quote on a podcast. It summed up like what's so fucking crazy about the money that we were spending on these wars is like a cruise missile costs $80,000, the whole thing, and to fire it. And most of the time, it is fired by a 19-year-old who can't afford a drink at his home country, at someone that he thinks is a terrorist. And a lot of times, those things are duds. They don't go off or they miss. Yeah. Like, we're spending $80,000 per rocket. Yeah. Like, that's where the fucking war cost is here.
I also saw a very striking image in Afghanistan of a huge-ass airfield full of American military equipment that was paid for by the American people, right? That is sitting there that we did not take with us and that the Taliban now have. And I'm telling you, this airstrip is like 2 miles long and it's full of our equipment. And now they just took it over. It's like what were we even like? Just the negligence of the all governments involved into this whole thing is ridiculous. And I cannot believe, like we'll probably get into, is why there's no coverage of that, why there's no criticism of that right now. And I'm sure now in the next 2 years we'll get that, but just in this entire 20 years since 9/11, there's absolutely been no, like, even Barry didn't even criticize the war.
No.
Like, it was more like about PTSD. Yeah, and that's like the main thing we see, especially in like American Sniper, is PTSD from the war. It's like they're brave to go over there because there's no draft, and then when they come home, most of the films revolve around post-traumatic stress disorder and like everything they saw and felt over there and everything, but nothing to ask why they had to do that in the first place.
So yeah, this is pretty much our generation's Vietnam. Like, It's worse than Vietnam at this point. And I think, you're summing it up. It's that sentiment that people have had since the early 2000s. It's the stand with the troops sentiment. Yeah. It's like, if you can't justify the war itself, put it all on the boys in Afghanistan and Iraq. They're serving our country. They're risking their necks, and they're coming home fucked up beyond belief. They're traumatized. Like, I know people traumatized by this war, and it's horrible. Like, we have a buddy. Our family has a friend who went overseas, and his vehicle ran over a landmine, and I mean, it changed his life forever. The injury that did to him it changed his life, and like it's so hard to hear stories like that and not feel sympathy for the troops. And in no way should this argument about whether the war is justified center on whether terrible things happen to our soldiers. Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, I mean,
every war that shit happened.
And of course we should advocate for them to come home and have access to treatment, have like homes to like live in if they lose their homes while they're overseas. I mean, like, we should watch out for our soldiers. That's never been a question. Right. But this kind of becomes more of like a justification for the whole thing. It's like, well, if you don't like the war, then you don't like the troops. And that's just like,
and you're un-American. Yeah,
that's just not the point. I think this started very early on in the Iraq war, when the Bush administration discovered that the people weren't really liking what they were seeing of the Iraq war, and it wasn't going all that well. Like, the whole reason we invaded Afghanistan in the first place was to catch Osama bin Laden, and he escaped like about like a few months into that conflict. Like, we almost had him, and he just like bribed the right people and got out, and we fucked up. We like didn't take the precautions to actually get him. And so while that excuse ran out, I mean, the whole time Dick Cheney and Bush are planning to invade Iraq for unrelated purposes, but they're going to tie it into 9/11 sentiment. And when that starts off, things are not going well because we tell everyone, like, oh, when you get into the country, you're going to be welcomed as liberators. No one was happy to see American soldiers in their country. And I have an example, actually, of some of this very early propaganda that I think brainwashed people and that we still haven't recovered from. It's the story of Jessica Lynch, who was, I think, the first POW in Iraq. Basically, when she was 19, she signed up for the military. She went off, and her unit took a couple wrong turns and ended up in enemy fire. Like, it was kind of incompetence, but that's not what was at the root of the reporting of the story. It was about Jessica herself. And there was a pretty famous Washington Post article covering her capture that says she was fighting to the death. And the report, detailed that she, like, emptied her clip into, like, the Iraqis around her. She was stabbed at close range, and she still didn't, like, give up shooting. She was gonna fight till she was dead. And, like, a lot of problematic reporting, like, saying, like, oh, the Iraqi soldiers, like, raped her. It was very much like, these people are savages. And the Bush administration, I think, fully knew that they had, like, a PR, like, gold mine on their hands, and they asked ABC to make a movie about the whole ordeal. And so 7 months after this incident happened, a movie was made about her capture and her heroism. Literally, movies do not get made that fast. So it's pretty shameless propaganda, but people were eating it up at the time. I mean, we just wanted to believe that our soldiers were out there and they were real passionate about the cause. Therefore, we need to be passionate. In truth, though, what happened to Jessica was a little bit less dramatic. She and her unit did end up, like, in enemy fire, and they were ambushed. But they didn't even have their weapons out. They truly thought that they were stumbling through villages that were going to, like, feel liberated, that were going to give them presents and food. So when they were getting shot at, the first thing that they felt was confusion. They didn't know why anyone would be shooting at them, and they thought it was a misunderstanding. By the time that most of the unit was killed and a grenade hit Jessica's Humvee, I think they figured out, like, okay, so we are under fire. But at that point, there wasn't really a battle. It was just like the American soldiers drive to the wrong place and they're killed. But what's fucked up is that Jessica was knocked unconscious by her Humvee crashing into another vehicle, and that's how she sustained most of her injuries. The Iraqis did not rape her, they did not stab her, they did not even shoot her. They brought her and another person who was dying to a hospital. The other prisoner of war died of their injuries, and Jessica was left in a hospital until the Bush administration shipped a camera crew overseas to Iraq, and the camera crew and the special ops team collaborated and went in together so that her rescue could be televised on American television. At several points, though, the Iraqi soldiers offered to bring Jessica back to the Americans.
Christ.
And they refused so they could get this PR, like, movie, this stunt, essentially. So I think the genius of the Bush administration is that they knew Vietnam, the cameras took away from the sentiment of the war, and they thought, we need to use the cameras for us. Yeah. Well, let's put some conservative filmmakers behind the camera, and make it a sense of duty and make it a sense of patriotism. And it absolutely fucking worked. Yeah. Like, I don't think there have been, like, hardly any movies that have come out in the past 20 years that are super critical of the war. The Now You See It essay mentions Jarhead, which is the Gulf War conflict, which is very similar, of course. And that movie depicts, like, a soldier wanting to get into the action a lot, and then by the time he ships out, they're beating the Iraqis. It's not even that much of a conflict. Like, they have nothing to shoot at. He almost gets to shoot something, and then he's interrupted and stopped. And that sounds like a very interesting movie. And it's not too surprising to hear, though, it didn't do very well, and it was deemed unpatriotic at the time.
Not surprised at all. There is, that's what's going to be so hard probably going forward making movies about this conflict is the fact that we have the administration manipulating cameras, manipulating stories over there. It's going to be another fake news sort of thing. Well, that's false information that why did this movie get made? That's not how it happened at all. When in all reality, it is going to be exactly how it happened. It's just, no, of course it's not going to be the most patriotic thing. I think the worst thing to happen to not just filmmaking, but just to this country in general, to politics, is that if you're critical of something, that you just hate it and you think it should be abolished. Not quite, there. I think, kind of which was why I'm so surprised that Barry didn't even get into it. Barry is already dealing with, he's an assassin. He kills people and he likes it. He maybe doesn't like it, but he's okay with it.
Yeah.
And you have that whole Iraq war, sequence, which I thought the show was going to get into, maybe kind of criticize, but no, it just, again, it takes the troops have PTSD route, and it's, I don't know. I hope that, do you know what the name of that movie about Jessica Lynch is called? Do you know what
it's called? Saving Jessica Lynch.
Oh.
And it was, it was like, it was pretty, it's panned, especially in retrospect, but even at the time, even though people supported it because it's like, oh, this is the story, right?
Yeah.
It was rushed into production by the Bush administration for sure to make sure that
the
PR.
I wonder if that'll get remade in a sense,
probably
later.
But dude, I definitely think the problem we're facing now too is with refugees coming into our country. It might be even longer before we get someone who comes out and makes an overly critical movie of the war, because we're going to get a lot of very familiar Islamophobist and fear-mongering media pieces, I think, especially from conservative outlets. I think we're going to see a lot of demonizing of Afghani refugees and I think that we might actually see a lot of conservatives kind of flip their view on the war. I think that in the 2000s we were all in for defeating the Taliban,
right? Pretty evil regime, to be honest, but still
these days it seems like the sentiment is oh my gosh, we should have made peace with the Taliban a long time ago. Trump, if he was still our leader, he'd have done it. And he did make peace with the Taliban. The situation that we're dealing with now is a result of his peace deal last year. And conservatives have been pretty quick to scrub footage of that event, of that peace deal signing. But that was Trump.
Yeah.
That was Trump.
It was a Trump era policy.
That's what's so frustrating about our current political climate is that war is it's political, sure,
right,
but the discussion of war has been apolitical for a long time. The general horrors of war have been universal to people, and everyone can say oh, war's a bad thing. I think what's so frustrating about this era is oh my God, war is political too. If you're a conservative, you have to be on this side of the conflict. If you're a liberal, you have to be on this side. And it's no, maybe we should just talk about the facts of the matter, the truth at the center of all of this, because it's become a blame game. Liberals are saying, oh God, it was Trump that fucked it all up, and conservatives are saying Biden has made a complete mockery of the situation. Let's be honest here. All four of the presidents have fucked up, but Bush is the one that got us into this mess. Obama is the one who decided to continue this fucking thing. Obama doubled down. People like to give my homeboy Obama slack for that. No, he chose to continue this operation, even though he saw that it was completely failing. He doubled down on Afghanistan and Iraq. Like, he had an opportunity to walk away from that, and he didn't.
In 8 years.
Yeah. It was so bad. Like, he promised that we'd be out of there in 2011.
Yeah.
No. I mean, they killed Osama bin Laden, but that's definitely like a look at us. We're like such a good administration thing. Man, I'm just realizing I don't really like too many American presidents.
No,
they're all kind of shitbags.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even the way Biden's dealing with this now, like, I'm not trying to throw all of the blame on him, but even the way he's handled this is ridiculous. Like, downplaying the warnings the U.S. government was given about how terrible the situation was going to get and how fast it was going to get that way. He didn't expedite any visas for people who are trying to flee the country. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I don't know. It's a whole complicated, convoluted situation that I am both annoyed but also ready for the films about. Because they're going to come, but like, what are they going to be dealing with?
I don't think any of them are going to get into the whole truth of the matter. I think that we're going to see a lot of blame films. We're going to see a lot of on the nose like films, and I think sadly that means that we're going to see a lot of low budget like right wing like movies that are like Biden and Obama ruined everything, and then we're going to get some very high budget like bootlicking Biden movies that are like. When Joseph Biden finally stepped in and ended the Afghanistan conflict, my God, liberal Jesus right there. He
liberal Jesus.
He undid all those evils that everyone did before. And by the way, did we mention Obama's blameless too? Because he is. He is.
Absolutely.
They're both blameless.
God. I'm not ready. I'm not. If Stanley Kubrick were here right now, what do you think his movie would be like?
It would probably be another sex orgy movie.
A sex orgy war movie.
Eyes Wide Shut too. the Breaking.
Who would you want to direct? A true to the facts war movie about the Afghanistan conflict. Who would be the best to tackle that?
Oh God, that's such a hard choice. I feel like, I feel like the Coen brothers could probably do a really good job with the material because like they do great action, of course, but I think that something they do is like, make, very serious situations that are mixed with like incompetency, like,
very funny,
satirical. And also they can be serious too. Like they walk that line between satire and like very serious, like so well. Like I think that their movie, In the Loop. What's that one with Brad Pitt and Frances McDormand? Fuck, it's the one where they're like trying to unearth like some conspiracy. I think George Clooney's in it. I'm just gonna keep talking until I find it. Brad Pitt. Oh God.
What is that called? Is it The Informant?
No, not The Informant. But I think that's about...
that's also about some kind of conflict.
Yeah, Matt Damon spilled the beans on something, I think.
God, what is that movie?
It's Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading, yeah.
Like, I think that movie is a good example of, like, the incompetency of people and, like, satire and also, like, political espionage, being all very intriguing. I think they would make a super interesting movie, whether it's boots on the ground in Iraq or whether it's back at home with the Bush administration. I think that they would have a very fresh lens on it.
Right.
So you have pulled up something.
I pulled up, I think this might be the pick everybody might go to, but Oliver Stone,
Yeah.
He's known for, he did Platoon in 86. So, if anybody is, he's very...
And he's a Vietnam vet.
He is. I think his movies are well done, and there's a Peter... Is it Peter Wahlberg or that does all the Mark Wahlberg movies like Patriots Day? Hold on, I got.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Patriots Day.
Patriots Day.
I don't remember Patriots Day.
You don't remember that? So.
Is this like a Michael Bay-esque? Like
so Peter Berg. Okay.
Oh,
Peter Berg did like The Kingdom, Patriots Day. He did Deepwater Horizon, and he did a couple other. But he does. Peter Berg is like the more action-driven, less political Oliver Stone because I feel like they make sort of like in the same vein kind of movies. Like it's like they can. I can see the resemblances, but Oliver Stone does it way better because Peter Berg's more concerned with directing action. And Oliver Stone's more about the political side of it. But yeah, I would definitely have Oliver Stone direct a Afghanistan conflict. But I don't know that he will because he's 74 years old.
Yeah, he's old. I mean,
I had to look up if he was still alive. That's before
his last few movies have not been super stellar. Like, I don't know. He did Snowden recently. I don't remember too much about that. But that is a movie critical of the U.S. government. So, I mean,
that's why I was seeing what newer stuff he had done, but
Snowden. Apparently, he did a Wall Street sequel.
He did the World Trade Center movie, but I mean and he did W. W's pretty. Isn't that pretty fucking like?
I remember liking it when I saw it. I don't remember too much about it. I'm curious to see W, and I'm curious to revisit Vice. That looked like it might try and get down into the nitty gritty of like all the ugly like Dick Cheney manipulation and all the nasty parts of.
I really want to watch Nixon with Anthony Hopkins. 1995. That looks promising.
Yeah, no. Oliver Stone is a director that I definitely want to see more from because I've never seen Platoon all the way through. I need to. I know. Natural Born Killers. I've never seen JFK.
Yeah.
Born on the 4th of July. All of these are movies that are considered so good, and I haven't fucking seen any of them. I'm a big fan.
He's a man. He's a man that directs the political movies, and from what I can tell, everybody seems to like him. So
hey, there we go. He's the pick.
He's the pick. But yeah, so pretty good discussion there.
Yeah. It's just
it's a fucking mess, is what it is, and it. We're talking about it early, Next year there might be some, or even next fucking week might be some new developments that just completely shift the entire conversation again. But
I think right now, at least, in the first time in 20 years, I think people are all collectively going, what a fuck up.
Yeah.
Maybe not all for the right reasons.
Right.
But everyone is looking at what's happening in Afghanistan. And finally, it's like people have been snapped out of something. Mm-hmm. And I mean, at the very least, even if we don't get any interesting media or movies that are objective about it, we have people talking. And I think that's the important step in doing an analysis of what we fucked up.
Right. I just hope that we think a little bit harder before we try to get into another fucking war. Like, I don't even think after 9/11 we even wanted to start a war, or maybe they did want to, but I feel like the American public.
Oh, the American public was, I mean, they were out for blood, but it was like for one guy.
Right? Yeah, an organization, really. But
and you know what's fucked up?
It's evolved over the years.
I learned that like the Taliban offered up Osama bin Laden in the early days too.
Oh,
like
really?
They were like, you can kill him. Like we didn't want him doing that either. That was really bad for us. Like that means that a lot of people are gonna come here and fuck with our shit.
Yeah.
So we have some concessions we're willing to make. First of all, he can die. And the American government was like, nah, we kind of want to invade Iraq, so it would be, in Afghanistan too for the oil. So, I mean, it would be really nice if we could just go ahead and ignore you and come over there anyway.
That's so annoying. I feel like also there was this sense of duty because the Taliban are they're like, Islamic purists, that's what they call themselves, but they're extremists and they do executions and they hate gay people and they hate women and yada yada yada. And I felt like maybe America was like, we ought to do something about this, as being such good people. And then we just started doing what we were doing in Vietnam, which is nation building, and it's not fun. And it's not good for anybody.
No.
And I think it's fucked up that that this has been 21 years now of this shit. It's stupid.
In conclusion, Team America is the best movie about the Iraq War out there. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, good stuff. Next week, we are we're gonna have a live fire drill on the podcast next week. I was trying to think if there's any movies coming out that we
I don't know,
but I was like, something next week's happening. Oh wait, Shang-Chi is happening next week, I think.
Really? I thought that was in September.
Oh, you're right. It's September 3rd. I'm tripping. What's
you
next?
know what?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I think that here on our little calendar here, it does say that we are invading.
Yes.
TBD.
TBD.
So a little bit of excitement.
Yeah.
We want to hear on Twitter, which country do you think that we should establish a regime in? Let us know.
Yeah.
We'd be curious to find out if they have any valuable resources.
Right. Oil, maybe?
Yeah. Are they communist? That makes it easier usually to do that.
Or a hint of socialism. We'll take that.
We'll just anything like vaguely like anti-American you can think of, we would love. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Be sure to support the troops. Stand with them always.
Yeah.
And Casey, I mean, do you love your country?
I definitely love my country.
Get down on your damn knees and clap your hands over your head because you love your country so much. Now, Simon says, kiss me.